Today's meditation is called Jesus the Good Shepherd, based on John chapter 10, 11 through 18. In our text today, Jesus is addressing the Pharisees who raised issues against him for healing a man born blind on a Sabbath day. In reply, Jesus charged the Pharisees of being themselves spiritually blind. Additionally, he implied that the Pharisees were hired hands who could not care less for the welfare of the sheep. They were not the true shepherds of Israel, Jesus said. Then he goes on to claim that he is Israel's good shepherd. In the Old Testament, the title Shepherd of Israel refers to those who were charged with the material and spiritual care of the people. That meant the kings, the prophets, and the priests. It was a responsible and an honorable title, and therefore it is no trivial matter for Jesus to charge the religious and political authorities of his time to be hired hands who did not care enough for the sheep they were supposed to care for. Some Bible scholars think that this portion of John's Gospel is a dig against the Pharisees, symbolic of the growing crack between Christianity and Judaism at the time, alluding to a time when they, the Pharisees, fled to the safety of Jamnia in order to escape the Roman soldiers who came to break the Jewish rebellion led by one Judas Bar Kokhba in AD 70. At any rate, over against the Pharisees and the other spiritual leaders of Israel, Jesus claims to be the Good Shepherd, which really meant a better shepherd. Our text today gives us 3 reasons why Jesus is the Good Shepherd. First, he lays down his life for the sheep, as opposed to those who ran away when troubles come. They run away because they are hired hands and do not have the best interest of the sheep at heart. Jesus' Father claimed that he laid down his life voluntarily. No one takes his life away from him. He did it in his own accord. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. I have authority to lay it down and authority to take it up again, Jesus said. Second, he knows his sheep, and his sheep know him. The religious authorities of Jesus' time, the priestly class, the Pharisees and the Sadducees, did not only not care enough for the sheep, they took advantage of the sheep, grifting them of their hard-earned money when they paid the temple tax, or purchased animals for sacrifice offerings. The reason we said Jesus cleared the temple of the animals, the money changers, and the other merchandisers at the temple courts. By contrast, Jesus associated freely with everyone. He did not discriminate. He welcomed anybody and everybody. He had followers from women of ill repute, the so-called sinners and the tax collectors. He healed those who were sick even on a Sabbath day and welcomed to his fold those that his society and religion deemed deplorable. And he loved them all, and they all loved him in return. He is the Good Shepherd. He cared for his flock as much as his flock cared for him. Third, Jesus said he has more sheep that are not of the Jewish pen that he will bring into his fold as well. In the Gospel and in the writings of the Apostle Paul, the common understanding is that chronologically salvation starts with the Jews and then flows to the Gentiles. Writes Paul, "For I am not ashamed of the gospel, because it is the power of God that brings salvation to everyone who believes, first to the Jews, then to the Gentiles." Although Peter sounded exclusive in his statement before the Sanhedrin, Acts chapter 4, having been brought there for questioning regarding their authority to heal a lame beggar and to preach about Jesus' resurrection, saying, "Salvation is found in no one else, for there is no other name under heaven given to mankind by which we must be saved." That's the sermon of Peter. Jesus himself was never exclusive in his offer of salvation. He offered salvation free to all who are willing to believe in him and the Father. This good shepherd cares not only for the Jews, but for all members of God's created humanity. He laid down his life not only for his fellow Jews, but for all who will believe. As Paul would later write, he died once and for all. In his agonizing prayer at the Garden of Gethsemane, he even prayed for the unity of the church, the sheep that he will bring into his flock. But to this day, the blending of Jesus' sheep from different pens remain elusive. In spite efforts for ecumenism and union of local churches and denominations, the joining of the Church of Jesus as one flock remains problematic. As Jennifer Benjamin Brooks of Garrett Evangelical Theological Seminary in Evanston, Illinois, in her article at Working Preacher observes, I quote, "While congregations may pride itself on its ecumenical stance and involvement, it is more often than not difficult to welcome expansive diversity, despite proclamatory statements to the contrary, and for congregations to move beyond familiar in the makeup of their ecclesial community." She further observes that beyond the denominational divides, there are issues of race, class, gender, sexual orientation, and even political affiliation. In our time of escalating ethnic and racial tension, it is perhaps the new calling of the churches to demonstrate that unity and harmony is possible. Perhaps it will help Jesus' followers to unite by finding in Jesus the Good Shepherd, the necessary common denominator, one who prayed for the unity of his church and one who laid down his life for all the sheep. In our text today, John makes it clear that there is only one flock under one shepherd. The flock does not belong to a denomination, but to the Good Shepherd who laid down his life for all the sheep. Amen.